So now we're going to be previewing the Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington number 2, which is the main event for UFC 268 in New York this Saturday, November 6th. We've already talked about the Gaethje versus Chandler fight, which is going to be opening up the card. We already talked about the Whaley versus Rose title fight that's going to be happening in the co-main event, and then now the main event. Picked Rose in the between Rose and Whaley. Picked Rose. Picked Michael Chandler between Chandler and Gaethje, and on this one, I'm gonna ride with my boy Colby Covington. I think that he's had a lot of time to improve on his skills. His last fight was against Tyron Woodley, and he dominated Tyron Woodley. Some say it was a war on Tyron Woodley, but it's still Tyron Woodley. I don't care what anybody says. To be able to stop Tyron Woodley, I think he broke his rib, and by round 3 or 4, Tyron Woodley was out of there. But Colby had dominated the entire fight, had walked Tyron Woodley down and continued to pressure him. Since their last fight, Usman has fought 3 times. 2 of those were against Jorge Masvidal. The first one was in July of 2020, smack in the middle of the pandemic, where he just, wrestle fucked Jorge and just held him up against the fence. Foot stomp city is what we call the fight. And then he had a fight against Gilbert Burns, in which he knocked out Gilbert Burns with a jab. He took, I don't know what happened there. And then he had a rematch with Jorge back in April, UFC 248. 244, I think. Yeah, 244. Back in April in Jacksonville. Now, Colby is a hell of a wrestler. If you haven't watched him fight, you know that he's got a very intense, come forward, suffocating style. And he was giving Usman trouble in the first fight. Many people are saying that because Usman was able to take out Burns and Kamaru and Masvidal, that Usman has this great knockout power. Like, man, if you plant your feet, I'm not like an expert striker, to say the least. But come on, man, if you plant your feet and you throw a hell of a right hand down the middle of the pipe, it lands, dude. You can knock out anybody. You could do damage to a heavyweight with that kind of shot. And Jorge was playing with Usman, and he put his hands down. Put your hands down. You leave your chin in the air. I don't care who you are. You're gonna get knocked out. That's just what happens. And so people are saying that that had never been done to Masvidal. No, not stiff, because that just proves my point. If you land clean, you're gonna get knocked out. But Darren Till landed a similar shot on Masvidal back in London in 2018, and it floored Masvidal. But Masvidal was able to roll with it. This one, there was no rolling. He took it straight in the chin and got knocked out. He got knocked out first time in his UFC career. So people are riding, that Usman's riding that wave, and people are comparing him to GSP and the greatest pound for pound fighter in the world. Now that John Jones is up to his old, normal behavior of, causing, people to get away from him and running away from him, and his own team has abandoned him, and he's back to his own criminal antics again. And he's, we're not going to talk about the allegations that are against him right now, but, just proving that John Jones is a piece of shit, whatever. But, they're saying they're blowing up all the smoke again, up Usman's ass, that he's the greatest welterweight. And how can you be the greatest? You haven't even surpassed GSP in victories, but you haven't surpassed GSP in championship defense and defending the championship. So, how can you be the greatest? You can be the greatest welterweight, sure. Are you the greatest welterweight champion? No. How could you? That doesn't make sense. Numbers don't add up. Usman has defended the belt 4 times, I think. GSP defended the belt throughout 7 years. So what the hell are we talking about here, right? He won the belt twice. The people that he lost to, he defended the belt against. So it doesn't even add up. He's also going out here calling out Canelo, like saying that he's the greatest in his sport. Canelo's the greatest boxer, so we should meet in the middle. And then on the other end, somebody asked Kamaru if he would fight Izzy Adesanya, and he's like, Izzy and I will fight. I'll move up to middleweight and fight him for his belt. Him and I will fight on one condition: UFC's got to pay us $100 million. Kamaru Usman is a hater. He is lame. He's got the personality of a fucking tadpole. Like, he's an idiot. And, all his accomplishments are great, whatever. But on a personal level, dude, just it's more entertaining watching paint dry. Like, come on, dude. The kind of things you say, you're literally copying the Conor McGregor handbook, and then you talk shit about Conor. I've said that consistently because everybody knows Conor nuts me on them all the time, but doesn't dispute the fact that these idiots try to copy Conor and then bombard him with all this slew of just nonsense and bullshit talk all day. So whatever, but I think heading into this fight, Usman is going to get confident. I think he's the kind of athlete that is able to pull it back, and he's a very disciplined athlete. We're not disputing that. His career accomplishments, they're great. Are they enough to consider him the greatest? No. And I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what the media says. I don't care what they're out there blowing smoke up his ass. I don't care what his manager says. I don't care what his daddy says. It doesn't matter. He's not the greatest welterweight of all time. That is GSP, and it doesn't matter. You don't have the selling. You don't even sell the same pay-per-view numbers that GSP sold. Like, can we talk about actual numbers here, or are we just gonna blow smoke up your ass because you're the most recent hottest thing since Habib retired? Like, come on, let's actually look at numbers. So GSP's defended his belt more times. You don't have the pay-per-view numbers that, without Jorge, you don't have any pay-per-view numbers. Your claim to fame is that you sold, 1.4 million pay-per-views. Yeah, because 1.3. Yeah, because Jorge sold those pay-per-views. They were there to see Jorge. They weren't there to see you. Now, I think you got a little taste of that money, Usman, and that million money because of that $1 million sale on pay-per-view. I think you want to make that leap. You want to taste that McGregor money. You want to be like Conor, but like I said, there's more personality in a fucking tadpole than there is in you. So, you can go F yourself with your, personality and lack thereof. But as far as accomplishments, I think he is able to focus. Obviously, he's a focused athlete, but there is levels to this game. Last fight, no wrestling whatsoever. It's almost like these two guys hadn't even been inside a wrestling, or had even stepped on a wrestling mat. They just went toe to toe, and I respect both men for that. But when it came down to it, Usman was calling fouls. He faked a nut shot. He faked an eye poke. And there is an adrenaline dump. We talked about adrenaline dump in previous videos. There is an adrenaline dump. If Colby experienced that and Kamaru was able to pull it in and get ahead on with Colby, heading into the fifth round of the last fight of their first fight, they were 2-2 apiece, and Colby was taking over in the fifth round until he got knocked down after the action was stopped a number of times. So I think this time Colby's going to be more disciplined. He's got a team around him. He's moved from American Top Team in Miami to MMA Masters, also located in Miami, but more, it's more centered around him, which is, kind of like what great boxers do, like a Canelo Alvarez. The training is centered around him. So the team is focused on making him better. The team is focused on getting Colby to the championship. I think that's gonna pay great dividend and for Colby. I think he's been very focused. He hasn't been done any media rounds. I like that from Colby. I know he's a great personality as far as talking wise and just being able to sell a pay-per-view, but he's not getting paid for pay-per-view this time. So there's no point in selling the fight. The fight's going to sell itself. If I'm not going to get paid for the fight, pay-per-view wise, I don't care how many pay-per-views. The pay-per-view could flop for all I care. Once I become champion, then we talk about it. In the previous fight, he was walking in as an interim welterweight champion, and so he got pay-per-view points. So he sold the hell out of the fight. He didn't do that now. And Usman, he's sitting here thinking, oh, I'm a great draw, oh, I'm a great champion. If you're a great draw, brother, they wouldn't be putting you with another champion on the card, and they wouldn't be putting such a hell of a fight between Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler under you. They're the hot selling points. You're just on your quest to greatness, supposedly. But it's one of those things where you see the type of work ethic that Colby has. I think he's been very quiet in the media because he's focused and because he's coming forward with a hell of a game plan to take out Usman. People think that, again, Usman has all this great power. We don't know what the hell Colby's been up to. He's been very quiet on the media. He's been very quiet on Instagram. He's got a great sponsorship by Bang, and so he's doing those commercials. And I think, his roundabouts with DraftKings and stuff like that. But we haven't seen any training footage from Colby. I saw some training footage on Usman. I saw it, they posted that shit on Instagram. It was at a local gym, we'll say. And he was practicing his kicks. He throws kicks like a mule. If the mule was tied up at the legs and was born with half a brain, can't kick to save his life. I don't care if you train with great champions. Your body's not made. Like, there's only so many alterations you're gonna be able to make to your body. So, whatever, man. I from seeing that footage, I think that Usman is gonna come forward and try to strike again with Colby. I'm gonna bet my bottom dollar right now. Colby Covington is gonna shoot on this fight. If Colby's smart, he's gonna shoot. He's gonna put Usman on his ass, and it's gonna disrupt everything. Because guess what? What Usman is not doing with Trevor Whitman? Wrestling. Now he could be wrestling with Rose's wrestling coach, Greg Nelson. Don't think he is. He's not wrestling. He's wrestling with Justin Gaethje. We saw what happened last time Justin Gaethje tried to wrestle. Khabib took mercy on him and mounted him faster than we've ever seen anybody get mounted in the UFC. Like, damn, got mounted faster than Jan Blachowicz. But I think Colby's gonna wrestle in this fight. I think he's gonna outsmart Usman. I don't know who the ref is. It's definitely not Mark Goddard, who was the ref in the first fight, because Colby hates him. It's definitely not him. And I'm not saying Colby gets to call his shots, but I don't think it's Mark Goddard. It's probably going to be Herb Dean. And I just hope that if there is a foul, they call it. If there's any cheating, that they call it. From both sides, we're not going to be biased on that. We want to be impartial. But I think Usman is. I think the smoke's gone up his ass and to his head, his giant head. And I think he's worried about Canelo. He's worried about Izzy. He's worried about making this money and making that money. Colby's not. Colby's focused on getting that belt, achieving his childhood dream, and moving on with his career. And Colby even said it. When I win, he said this at the press conference earlier. When I win, let's go. We'll do a trilogy fight right then and there. We'll sign for it right then and there. But Usman is not going to want to fight the trilogy after this, because after I finish with him on Saturday, he will no longer want to fight. He's going to retire. What I would hope that some of these fighters understand, and again, to each their own, and that's that you can't be a whale. You can't try to embark on this journey and then swallow the entire sea whole. You can't do that. To do that, you have to be great. You have to have a personality. It's got to be the perfect storm, like a Connor, like an Izzy, somebody like that. If you don't have it, don't try. It's like that old saying that Chepo Reynoso, the father of Eddie Reynoso, trainer to Canelo Alvarez, said, if you don't have talent, just don't try to imitate it, because it's not going to work. And so it's like, don't picture greatness if you don't have talent. I'm not saying Usman's not talented. I'm just saying that motherfucker puts his foot in his mouth way too many times, and he is one shot away, one loss away from losing all that. Because he's not Conor. He's not Izzy. They're still stars. He's not Darren Till, for God's sakes. They're still stars. One loss after another. Doesn't matter. They're still a star. Each and every one of them. Conor being the biggest of them all. Brock Lesnar being among them. Usman, you lose this fight. You lose one more fight. You can take all that welterweight greatness and shove it. Doesn't matter, son. It doesn't matter. I'm going to root for Colby on this one. If Colby loses, I'll leave my words. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The great thing about my opinion is it's my effing opinion. And if you don't like it, oh well, get over it. If you don't like the video, move on. It's not my problem. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this so I can improve on my speaking skills, so that I can improve on my ability to be in front of the mic, so I can improve on my ability to speak coherently and in long breaths, because I want to do this in the future. So heading into this fight, Colby, rooting for you, brother. I hope that you get your childhood dream. I've seen you work, political affiliation and controversy aside. You gotta respect the man that when he falls broken, he gets back up. You gotta respect that. As a man, I respect that, and I think we want to see what happens when you meet adversity. We saw what happened with Colby when he met adversity. I want to see what happens when Usman meets adversity. We didn't get to see what happened when Habib's supposedly the greatest lightweight of all time. We didn't get to see him tested. What happens? You know, Dominic Cruz said that the other day on the Ariel Helwani show on the MMA Hour. What is Habib undefeated, or did he just walk away without being tested? It's a hell of a question, and I think Usman's on the same train. I think people from that management, they get fed a bunch of bullshit from Ali and Henry Cejudo in the same way. They all seem to share similar personality traits. And I think we'll see what happens when they meet adversity and a loss. We saw what it did for Henry Cejudo. Became back and became champion twice, then retired again. We're not going to see that with Habib. I think we're going to see it in Habib through Islam. But we'll see what happens when Usman faces adversity. And I think he's going to face great adversity when Colby Covington starts to press him and outsmarts him. And they're saying that they're going to get Colby rattled. He pushed him earlier on in the press conference. He put his hands on him. We still have the weigh-in tomorrow, the ceremonial weigh-ins, and we'll see. That'll be their last face-off before the fight. But I think we're going to learn a lot in this fight, and I hope that Colby takes it so that he can move on with his career. Get all the great money fights that he can embark on, because Colby will entertain us. Unlike Usman, Colby will entertain us. If he wins, there's bad blood between him and Jorge Masvidal. Of course, Jorge's got to do his job and win against Leon Edwards. I see that very difficult to be, but we'll see. Masvidal's crafty, but if Masvidal can pull it off and Colby can pull it off this weekend, we're gonna see a hell of a rivalry. Hell, that's a Ultimate Fighter right there. That's a hell of a show. So. Rooting for Colby. We're going with America on this one.